Well, welcome sales associates and sales professionals looking to get a foothold into your respective market. Of course, everything that we're about here at Property Careers Prospector School is getting you into that position where you've got those seed listings and then moving into leveraging off those to build market share. This is a special time of the year, as we have been heading up for you in previous weeks. We talked at great length, I imagine, about what was coming with this quarter. It's, of course, being the last quarter of the calendar year. And with it comes a few problems. Oh, sorry, I've somehow bitten my lip, or I had some sort of pimple there. It's driving me crazy. So we are now looking at or almost upon us, the second month of that last quarter, which then leads into the final month, which of course is December. So it is that we talk about this special time of year, and so often we've seen lots of problems that have come before this, and I mean in previous years. Not least of which, and I'll talk about this from both a perspective of you as a sales associate working in real estate, and some of the challenges that are presented to you by the owners of property, notwithstanding the fact that many of them have a motive in place, are keen to make a move. If you couple that, of course, with what's happened in and around the real estate market as on the knock-on effect, if you like, of COVID and the lockdowns and all the things. And I know that there's varying situations dependent upon where you are in Australia and New Zealand, and in fact worldwide. But invariably, what we have to do as estate agents is ensure that productivity keeps going. So in the previous months, we have talked about, going all the way back, to making sure that your orientation in and around when you are communicating with sellers veers away from price. As we often say, there's no good news wherever price is concerned, and you should be driving the orientation of all your conversations with those prospective sellers. It needs to be squarely focused upon the motive, and I'll talk more about that today. And of course, in the next installment, we talked about making a connection. So you're welcome to go back on these previous installments on the YouTube channel and have a listen to them. We then talked about making a connection, how you do that through rapport building, ensuring again that you're speaking about that motive, then pushing the conversation to the property itself and indeed the clients, not talking about yourself, but talking about them. We then moved into the service aspect, and what we explained was, if you don't offer some understanding of where your product sits and then flesh that out so that they understand what is the discernible contrast and difference between you and other estate agents, and I mean to say you, I mean you, your company, what your company offers that perhaps the competitors do not, and highlighting that. And then we talked about regeneration and making sure that you build your APS list up. The APS, there's an acronym. I know that Sarah Gropner is always pulling me up and saying, Mark, what do these acronyms mean? So you'll be delighted to hear that I'm posting these on all the various groups so that you do understand very quickly what all those acronyms mean. So when we talk about the APS, this is your active property seller list, remembering that sellers are only ever in one or two dispositions. They're either dormant or active. Dormant means, of course, that they're always interested in the state of the market and certainly are interested in the current value of their property, should they own it. But they're not active. So they're not thinking of making a move. So they're not actively participating in the market, looking at other house prices and that sort of stuff, because they're imminently thinking about selling. So we focus on the identification of these, and as you have been building that, the main objective is to build that to around 25 plus, not around, a minimum of 25 plus. There was a very strong reason for this, particularly as it relates to this time of year being the last quarter. So if you felt like there's been a mad rush to do it, as I explain it, it's been about creating the number of people that you need that if you service are going to, on conversion, mean that you're going to be looking at somewhere at least around 10 listings for the remainder of this quarter. We did this inside of what we refer to as the Real Estate Rockstars Rocktober, and this becomes the platform or the bounce month, springboard we've also referred to it as, where you spring from there into setting this quarter up fantastically and ensuring that your productivity goals are met. And I will be talking about those goal settings in concurrent months and alluding to it again today. So that when you move from here to the festive break and you take some time off, which you should do, that when you come back, you've already got set up or in play prospective sellers that you will have listed or will be imminently listing moving into the new year. So the whole idea is to set this up now so that you get off to a flying start the right way, the way that things need to be done. So it is that we say that this has been the whole idea of the setup. Now, moving into November, December. Now, the thing that I have the problem with, and it is a problem, in and around moving in from November to December is from the perspective of the property sellers. The moment they hear December, it can be even worse. The moment they hear a Christmas carol playing in a shopping center, and these days you hear it as early as early November sometimes, that for some reason what we do as Australians and New Zealanders, we start to think of Christmas and then we start to put everything off to the other side of Christmas, preferring to focus before Christmas on things like Christmas presents and what the family's doing and dinners and all that sort of stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But we're going to be after what we need to get, I guess, into the heads of the active property sellers that are ready to do something right now, or at least have a motive that could be fulfilled, is that we keep going, we work the way through, and here's where the twist comes in. A long time ago, we did this primarily because of at the management level. For me, as a real estate sales team leader, with my sales team, what I noticed from their perspective, and this might affect you, is that they too, once we started to hear December, we started to give up. We started to look at it, and if you got hit with the words from a few sellers of, I'll leave it till next year, we started to slow down. And then invariably, we start to slow down, they start to slow down, everything gets put off till next year. Well, this doesn't work very well, certainly around the moolah, the payments and the paychecks and the company and the whole thing. So many years ago, I decided to get rid of December. And I melded December into November. And what I came up with, which is the title track of this session here right now, NoCEMBER. And this permeates all of the training that we do, and we focus upon it. So instead of just having two separate months, December nearly always is ordinary, or if it's okay, both January and November are ordinary. So we just melded November and December into NoCEMBER, made it a 7-week month. So of course this year, Christmas Day being on a Saturday, the 25th, means that we can be running real estate sales all the way up to Christmas Eve. For your benefit, the most number of properties I've personally sold, forget about listing, but sold on up until on Christmas Eve itself is 3 that actually went unconditional. So I've always focused on working all the way up and to. Now, don't think that I'm one of these Scrooge McDucks that doesn't like Christmas and doesn't like the holidays and doesn't like the festive season and doesn't like the New Year's Eve party. I love all that stuff. What I say to people, what I say to you as sales professionals right now, wherever you are, be there. So if I'm on and if I'm working in a real estate office, for me, the attainment of results is absolutely critical to the idea that I've given up my time to be there in the first place. So when I say where you are, be there, I just say, if you're on, you're on. So if I'm in a real estate office, I want to be listing and selling properties, and I want to make sure that the people I'm talking to understand that framework, and I want them to be appreciative of the fact, and I'm more than happy for them to lock onto me and give me the necessary work. So yes, we're going to have a break. And, for me, it was till about the 10th of the month. So I made sure that I ran all the way up to Christmas Eve. When I took that from the 24th, I didn't return until the 10th. And I also had everyone set up for it. So this 7-week month needs to be put in play. Now, one of the first things we do in NoCEMBER is, before we start, which is just a few days away now, is the first thing you need to do is set the destination. And by that, I mean, set your goals and your targets. Now, I do appreciate that many of you, for the results to be attained, might be reliant upon a sales professional that you may be supporting. So if you set the appointments, you want them to get out, but still the goal needs to be for you as a sales associate, attaining or confirming or securing listing presentations with active property sellers. So the reason that we've focused on you building your APS list to 25, as I said before, is so that you actually have enough people to support you through this side of Christmas and to the other side. 25 is the magic number because as a bare minimum, if you're working 5 days a week during NoCEMBER, you will have 5 people that you can engage with in conversation on a daily basis. So that too is important. And we want to keep building that list. So if your APS list is not at 25, then I implore you to put a lot of your energy now into building those APSs. And I mean on steroids, jump into it. And in order, and I have covered this off before, but in order of priority, the first thing that I would go to is your SEL. For those of you that are not used to the acronyms, your sales enquiry log. If you don't have one, well, there's the clue, start one. But you need to go in and source anyone that's been calling off properties that you've had for sale in the service area where you'd like to meet active property sellers. Very simply, I'll just cap it off so that you know, it's just a simple matter of ringing the inquiry that's at least 4 weeks old is the best. You basically go into that inquiry and the dialogue goes like this. Doesn't take long because it's so bloody simple. I ring up and I say, sorry to bother you. This is Mark from Dwyer Real Estate. You had, and then move to this nature of the inquiry, so sorry to bother you. You came to one of our open for inspections. Goodness me, it was back in late September of this year. Have you purchased as yet? Then I shut up. I let them talk. They come back more than ever. To be perfectly candid with you, I can't really hear what they're saying because I'm just waiting for them to stop talking, at which time I then say, do you have something to sell? They might say, what? Because I'm speaking briskly, which is usually my mode. They say, yeah, well, matter of fact, we do. Or if we found something first, again, if they say either of those things, if they say, well, we will be selling once we find something or somewhere to go to me, that's an active property seller because they've got a motive. So then I immediately then say, oh, fantastic. So were you looking at this open home to compare it to your own? Or is this where you're looking at moving to? They say, no, I was looking at it to compare it to my own. Now I now lock onto conversation. So where are you headed to? Where is the property at? And I'm not pushing for the presentation. I've identified yet another one. If that doesn't work, you can then move to the regenerative process, again with the acronyms, LA Woman, LAW, LA Woman, which is our just listed for our own listings. It goes out ahead of the for sale sign going up. It does not have a picture of the property. It does not have the street number. It just says what street it's in. I could go through all that stuff, but I'm just making you aware of it. That's another one that can generate inquiry. The PMBX, which stands for an acronym, put the message in the box. This is the just listed for competitors signs. So when you see the competition put a listing up, put a signboard up on a listing they have, you immediately on the houses surrounding that drop a PMBX card, which is available through Property Marketer. You don't have Property Marketer, call me. I always say the number at the end, so look at the end and you'll get the phone number or the way to get in contact with us. Or welcome home invitations. What's a welcome home? It's our take on an open home. We make them welcoming, not just to buyers, but to property sellers researching the market or active property sellers, and we openly invite them to do it. Another way of connecting and identifying. If you've got sales, you can use Telegram Sam, which is a telegram that you put up before the sold sticker goes out. Or the Sellogram, which is a take on an Instagram, yet it's called a Sellogram. Again, that is put out before you put the sold sticker on the sign, and this is a way to capture them. Then there's some secondary protocols like other agent signs down, of which I realize there aren't many because the market is undersupplied at the moment, or attacking for sale by owners. I still see, this is remarkable, in so many areas, agents are always saying to me, there's no one trying to sell privately in our area. I do a quick search. I live sometimes several thousand kilometers away and I'm able to find one. You're not looking. If you're not looking, they're not there. But if you do look, you will find them. And these are ways to connect. So you've just got to focus on building it. Now, if you still can't build that list up, this means that you are still in foothold mode. You don't have seed listings. You can't identify sellers because you don't have signage. You have to re-engage. So put all of your energy into foothold protocols. What do they involve? Getting the sign card, the for sale card, which is a replication of your sign in postcard size, and be delivering that up around a plan. Again, don't know what to do, get in touch and we'll show you how to do it. Focus on getting signs on the main arterial roads. All of this will lead to you identifying active property sellers or getting those seed listings, at least, from which you can actually then capture the better quality listings. Now, when you watch people fish, sometimes they catch little fish to use as bait to catch big fish. That's basically what you're doing in foothold. You're looking to get signs on busy locations. You're looking to get listings that nobody else really wants, that may not sell, that are on busy roads or whatever, whether people want way too much money, but you're using those little fish to catch the bigger fish. So focus on that. Do not wait to build your APS list. You have to follow a plan and a strategy which does build it. Now, if you are in a position where you have built your APS list up to 25 plus, that is fantastic. You are on the way. From there, we now start to focus, and I ran through this last week in specific detail. You're then looking to move into your pre-list protocols, which basically set up and show your product and have loads of, there's 9 specific passive contact points we've identified. I won't go through them on this recording, aside from just alluding to them. I'm not going to go through them in detail. Number 1 is the property seller's research guide. You need to get that out almost straight away. The second one is to start SMS texting the sales results that your company is having, a maximum of twice a week, basically, no more than every 72 hours, but at least once a week, getting out there and telling them about unconditional sales, making sure the subject matter around those texts is centric to satisfying people's motives or doing things in a timely fashion. The third step is the preliminary comparative market analysis, the comparative value. I won't go into all the bits and pieces about that. I've covered that off, but you make sure that that's going out. You then invite them to one of your welcome homes, one of your open for inspections by invitation. The invitation basically needs to say, if you're researching the market ahead of selling, we'd like you to check out our welcome home. Whilst you're there, don't forget to ask our sales representative for your copy of the Property Seller's Research Guide. You then move into the thew platform, which is a subdomain that is identified by the address of the property. For those of you that are on any of our programs, you have this available for you inside of the Property Marketer Suite, and you can send them an example of listings you already have on that platform saying, should you list with us, this is what you get, and it costs no more. Again, all of this stuff, if you look at it from the perspective of this active property seller, is conducive to them having conversations. I'll get to what you do with this right in just a moment. Then the market roundup, which is your newsletter. I've told you how this works, which basically tells people how the market is and what their property's worth. Then your accolades, your recommendations, they need to go out. Very important that you're pushing these out. Your case studies of other properties where there have been sellers that have been reluctant to come to the market and how that success story has unfolded, inclusive of satisfying the motive, them being moving without being stuck with not having a place to live, and importantly, the marketing product that was employed by them to protect and leverage their value. And last but by no means least, sending out information around specific buyers you have for their property should they come to market. Now, there's 9 contact points here. This is all going to be cause for good conversation. So the question I'm most asked a lot now, since people have been taking this up, how quickly do you get all that information out? Well, here's the twist. If you've got your APS list to 25, and don't panic if you sent some of these out to some people already, that's okay. But now comes the all-important dissemination of those active property sellers. We need, when we're talking to them, not to interrogate, but in conversation, which is the big subject matter for next week when we jump on here, but I'm just alerting you to it. And you need to disseminate which of those sellers that are on your APS list are those that are going to want to sell before Christmas, as opposed to those that will be after Christmas in the new year. Now, of course, you're still going to be adding people to this active property seller list. You're definitely going to catch them. I would say that by the time you get, about a third to half of the way through NoCEMBER, anyone that you identify will be moved to next year anyway, and we can actually send the information out to these people accordingly. But the issue here now is, how do you disseminate? Well, it's fairly simple. Going back to what we talked about in identifying motive a couple of episodes back, when we said, how you create the connection and understanding the motive, remembering that they work in layers. The first question you have to come up with an answer for on all of those people that sit on your APS list, again, active property sellers, is what or where is this active property seller what are they trying to do, or where are they trying to go? This, of course, is the motive. And if you haven't asked this, you need to ask this specifically. Again, be wary to stay away from conversations around price or value and stick more to their reasons for actually selling. What are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go? Tell me what it is, And now, how would I frame that up in conversation? I'd say, look, now tell me, can I ask you? I just want you to imagine that, and I haven't seen your property, but we had a buyer for your property at a price you're over the moon with right now. What would you do in that scenario? And just see how they handle that. See, some of them might just turn around and say, well, it'd be too soon because we haven't been out there looking. We haven't found anything. So I say, so would you just prefer to put this off to the new year? But if you did have someone right now and you could go out and look, would you be happy to move? Or would you at least be happy to have everything dealt with and maybe the deal's all been done and the settlement's not till the end of January, but would that work for you? This is conversation you're into, and this has a direct correlation to the motive and to you disseminating the before Christmas and the after Christmas. Now, if I'm flagging, if people are positive, if I get a good spin on the before Christmas, of course, with those 9 contact points, I'm going to up the frequency by which I deliver those to them. If, of course, they're pushing to after Christmas, I might start to space them out. I wouldn't be as anxious to get the preliminary comparative market analysis out. I might leave that to mid or late NoCEMBER. I will do it this year, this side of Christmas, because I want the conversation to keep in play. And I certainly, as I get halfway, I want to be able to say, this is one that I'll be listing either now for a January start to come live or to go live, or I'll be listing them the moment that I get back. You see, we just have to disseminate them between before and after and get a good understanding. The second question is, why do they want to do this? This is also part of conversation. I'll expand on this next week when we talk again. But watch, and I don't want you to be contemptuous, but just in conversation, if someone says, well, look, we haven't been able to find something, I might say, well, what if you do find something? What happens if you do find something? And they go, well, if we did, then we'd want to sell this. And I say, well, why actually do you want to do this? Well, if they say, well, look, the market's been really good. We think if we don't do it now, we'll never get it done. That to me is someone it's game on. And they can be persuaded to move forward. Don't necessarily just take it that everyone's after Christmas by the way they're talking. Look for the clues, Well, when we see it, we know it, we'll be jumping onto it. Some of them I even say to in conversation, if you did have a buyer now, would you be able to find something? Yeah. Well, why are you waiting to actually put it on? You just want to engage in these conversations, and I'll expand on that. So the first thing, just recapping, what or where are you trying to do or go? The second one is, why would you want to do this? And I always do it like I'm a little bit confused. And if they come at me with a strong answer, saying this is why we want to do it, then I know that that motive is quite legitimate and they are looking to make the move. And then comes the big question, probably the most important. When must the property seller do this by? And what I then move to them, I say, look, do you want to be moved before or after Christmas? And if they say after Christmas, say, well, how soon after Christmas? I mean, are you talking about making the move by the end of January? They go, yeah. So, well, if you want to move by the end of January, then we need to get it probably on the market now. Look at how the timeline fits in. This is only going to become apparent if you allow the conversation to be centric to them, if you get the service orientation and get the material out to them, and you make sure that the conversation is centered around the motive, sticking to these 3 particular questions. From there, you know where to disseminate them. Are they in the before Christmas camp or the after Christmas camp? And now I know how to run the servicing out to them and whether or not I need to build on identifying more active property sellers to ensure that my productivity is where it needs to be. My name's Mark Dwyer. You can catch me at mark@propertycareers.com.au, or importantly, you can telephone me on +61 410 592 165. And I look forward to supporting you and showing you how to get through NoCEMBER. Make sure that this is the productive quarter that you want to have and that you start the new calendar year off with a flying start and a complete bang.